There's a lot going on with the markets and the latest job numbers. I got a note from somebody I really trust last night, said, buckle up. It could be right around the corner. And I'm like, dude, I've been buckled up since 2008. It's always just around the corner. Carol Roth is with us. She is the author of The War on Small Business, former investment banker gone good, and she has a book also coming out this summer that makes a great companion book with mine, You Will Own Nothing. In fact, I highly recommend, if you're going to, and verify, Carol, I'm not getting any profits from your book, so I'm saying this because I believe it. It makes a great companion book with mine, so buy both of them.
I have to say, Glenn, if you go on Amazon and they, it's on pre-order right now, if they say the books frequently bought together, it's your book and my book.
Yeah,
so.
Good. Well, they belong together. They belong together. So I was just talking about something that I haven't seen anyone else talk about, and that is J.P. Morgan Chase. Jamie Dimon comes out and says, hey, we got to start seizing land for, wind farms, and it's just breathtaking how out in the open they are, that you aren't going to own anything.
Yeah, it's so brazen. When you hear these things like you will own nothing or we're going to seize these things, you kind of think of like, is this a conspiracy theory? Because there's no way the elite and the well-connected could be advocating for the end of property rights.
It was in his quarterly report.
That's what I'm saying. It's unbelievable. They are saying the quiet part aloud. If you do the research, it is everywhere. And the challenge is it's coming from every direction. So it's not like it's just one force that's coming at you. It's not just like it's the government or the Fed or the banking sector or the NGOs or big tech. It's everybody and all at once. And it's really interesting because if you think about how people used to, or countries used to seize riches, right? They would go to war with other countries and they would take other people's riches. But this time it's your own government and everyone around you coming at you. They are at war with you. So, this is the time that we have to get back.
And this is why they've said for years, it's a conspiracy theory, because they needed to delay us from stopping it. And only when the American people wake up, and we're running out of time. I saw on Tucker Carlson, night before last, he's now all over de-dollarization, which I've been talking about that forever, and no one thought that was possible. And it's happening in exactly the way I thought it would. When people felt the dollar was at the end and America was weak, they would come up with a better dollar. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about a new financial world order, this is something that happens on a regular basis. We have lived at a time where we are the center of the global financial universe, so we feel like we're invincible. I'm sure that the British before us felt the same way, and the Dutch before them felt the same way, because you don't have that perspective. But as the elite are seeing this new financial world order play out, they are jockeying to put themselves in position to control every possible resource and make sure in the process you own nothing. And that is the shift that we are seeing take place. The challenge that we have, Glenn, which, as you know, we always see the trajectory. We just don't know the duration. We don't know if it's going to happen in 6 months, and we don't know if it's going to take years. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared now, because you just don't know.
Yesterday, the Treasury came out and said, we need punitive action and more regulation on cryptocurrency. They are doing everything they can to kill cryptocurrency. Crypto is at 27 for Bitcoin now, 27,000. That's up. Gold was at, 240 yesterday? And Citibank is saying that they expect it soon to be at $2,300. That's craziness.
Yeah, if you control the money, you control the people. So the people who are involved with governments and central banks around the world, they are going to fight to the death to make sure they do not lose control of the money. And the interesting thing for people who are interested in maintaining hard assets, like I am, and I know you are, is that gold isn't really a center focus for them. They're very, very focused on cryptocurrency, and they're going to take that interest in it and confuse people to move towards the central bank digital currency that you've been warning about and I've been warning about. And that's the number one thing that we all need to push back on, because it needs congressional authorization. They are going to slip it in somewhere, and we have to find out where and make sure that that doesn't pass.
So they're going to slip it in somewhere in pieces, or it's going to come when a bank crisis happens and it's over, and then they'll just go on television and say to everybody, "You got to do this." It'll be TARP. They'll just ram it through.
You can't have a bank run if you don't have banks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be their arguments, and we need to say, nope, that doesn't pass muster with us.
Yeah. Tell me, I've been hearing about the job numbers, and the job numbers came out today, and they weren't so bad, but I don't trust the job numbers from the government.
Well, let me tell you a couple of things about it. First of all, it was right around expectations, 236,000 jobs added. Again, if you believe that. The interesting piece, if you do a little bit of a digging, is that government really propped up that number. So this wasn't coming hugely from the private sector. The private sector was less than expected, but there were 47,000 government jobs added. So all of that government spending is propping up the economy and also working against what the Fed is trying to do. So I think that's really important. Another important piece, the unemployment rate.
Wait. Explain what you just said that goes against what the Fed is trying to do. Explain that.
So we know the Fed, in raising rates, is trying to destroy demand. They're trying to kill jobs so that they can slow inflation.
Right.
The government continuing to spend does not destroy demand. The government continuing to spend to add jobs does not slow that down. So the two of them are rowing in the wrong direction. And it's very frustrating because you have not seen the Fed come out and put this on the government and saying you have to stop your deficit spending. You need to slow down because you are working against the work that we're trying to do here in taming inflation. They just refuse to put anything on the government, which is creating a huge set of issues, which means the Fed's going to have to raise their interest rates even higher and have a longer term impact in terms of what I believe is going to be an eventual recession.
So let's look at this from a different perspective entirely, because I no longer give people the benefit of the doubt who are actively pushing ESG and everything else, the World Economic Forum. They know they have a different agenda. So let me look at this with the eyes of the Treasury and the Fed and the White House. Their agenda is to make sure you own nothing and they own everything, and you're a renter from the rest of your existence. What would be the advantage of doing this? You're crushing the private sector, growing the government, spending out of control. You're raising the interest rates to try to keep up, but yet you're spending more, so inflation keeps going. What is the end result of that?
So, it's hard to know intention. Some of it could just be stupidity and arrogance that, we're going to continue to grow the government. We've never had problems before. It will eventually sort itself out. They all believe in these, ridiculous theories, modern monetary theory and the like. And even though we've proved them to be wrong, they figure, that'll sort itself over time. But there could be something else going on. Jared Bernstein, who was a advisor to President Obama, he's an advisor to President Joe Biden, wrote a piece in the New York Times in 2014 called Dethrone King Dollar. And he basically was making the argument all the way back in 2014 that, it's not so great to have this exorbitant privilege. We really don't want to be the center of the financial universe. Here are all the issues, which, by the way, there are some issues, but there are a lot of privileges and a lot of benefits that we reap from it. So, there is a theory and a line to be drawn to say that they are intentionally trying to topple the dollar. And if you look at the weaponization of the dollar that was done against Russia during the invasion of Ukraine when they decided to freeze Russia's reserve assets. If you look at these different behaviors, you look at the people around them who have been advocating from the inside to dethrone King Dollar since at least 2014, there is definitely an argument to be made that this is something that they want to happen. Now, again, they may think that they're going to then replace that with a digital dollar and it will all be hunky-dory, but every time they do something like this, it goes sideways and we end up as average Americans suffering the repercussions.
And you would, if you dethrone the dollar, the reason why people are jumping on board is two reasons. One, they see weakness in America. They don't know how long it lasts. If I am a smaller country and I have to choose between the United States and China, I might be moving to China if I'm just worried about my security and my country. You know what I mean? Because the United States looks weaker and weaker every single day. So if you are moving over, you're doing it because you're a small country and you're just looking for stability and want to be on the winning side.
Or get the investment, the Belt and Road Initiative. China's been making those investments, so that's a piece of it as well.
Correct. Or you are getting out because the dollar's been weaponized. See, that's the thing with a reserve currency. This is the downside for a country. You have to be self-sacrificing on that dollar. You are protecting the dollar sometimes against your own economy because the sound dollar is important not just for you, but the entire world. Right. We have destroyed it because we want more government and we're weaponizing it. That makes the gold standard being a dollar worthless.
Well, think about for China, they are a net importer of food and oil, and these are commodities that are priced in dollars. So just like today, when our dollar buys less, when it buys less for them, that means less food and oil they can buy for their country. That becomes a national economic security issue for them as well. So they do have an argument there that says this isn't great for us as a country. It's not just that they're trying to flex their muscle as a superpower, which they are, by the way. So that's another third thing. Is that they're all trying to topple the dollar because they want to come out on top. But this is a national and economic security. It threatens their food supply. It threatens their energy supply when you are dependent on the dollar and you have a Fed that will not manage the dollar for the stability of the world or, by the way, for the stability of the U.S. And you see this trajectory happening, and these people who aren't doing their job, they don't want to depend on that. They cannot depend on that because it is the security of their country.
You need to do your own homework on what it means for a dollar or the sterling or the mark or whatever when they have collapsed in the past. It is not an easy thing. You get through it, but it is not an easy thing, especially if the government is hostile to its own people. But it is a matter of when. It's not a matter of if anymore. Do you think I'm safe in saying that?
I do. I think somebody should write a book about that. They should call it You Will Own Nothing.
All right.
And do the research for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carol. My book is called Dark Future. Her book is You'll Own Nothing. They are two sides of the same coin. She goes into a lot of what you can do, how it works, she does all that research. I'm doing all the research on what they're planning, what the second phase is. Make sure you order them online now. Dark Future by me and You Will Own Nothing by Carol Roth. Thank you, Carol.
Happy Easter.